Hello and welcome to the 1872 podcast, an independent fan podcast all about the greatest club in rugby league, Wigan Warriors. Today I'm here in, this evening I'm here in sunny Stretford, where it's pouring down, and I'm joined by a close friend and someone who played over 100 games of amateur rugby league for Ince Rose Bridge, from Manchester University, and one game as a Wigan town team trialist.
Yep.
And I believe his nose got messed up in the process.
I have not been able to breathe through my right nostril since.
And you can follow him on Twitter at TaxingChimp. It's my good friend James. James, how are you?
I'm good, thank you very much.
Obviously, we're here. We're new. We're sort of testing the water with this. But before we start talking about the greatest club in rugby league, I just want to give a couple of shout outs now. For all your 1872 podcast content, you can follow us. The best place to find us is on Twitter at the 1872 pod. You can also send us an email if you want to give us any feedback, any questions, any abuse. It's the 1872 podcast at hotmail.com.
Go ahead, I will be reading it.
And you can listen on YouTube by subscribing to our channel, which is the 1872 podcast, or if you're struggling to find us, obviously we're sort of a new setup. If you put in the search bar the 1872 podcast and filter channels, we should appear there. If you do that, you might see some nifty artwork that's been designed by one of our friends, Mike. I'm going to shamefully sort of plug his YouTube channel here. If you go onto YouTube and type in Comp 3 Interactive, that's Comp-3 Interactive, he's your man for all your sort of game development and techie tutorial needs. He's excellent at design, he does lots of good work, and like I say, he's a close friend and we wish him well with that. Also, I've got to mention this, otherwise someone will probably hunt me down and find me. The music which has introduced us and will be our outro music is from a website called www.bensound.com. It's royalty-free music, and you can use the great range of free music for online videos on sites like YouTube, Facebook, and on other websites too, along with any online animations which you might want to create. That's www.bensound.com for royalty-free music. Right, James, let's start.
Also, let's check out DM Signs Design on Twitter. DM Signs, they do all the stuff for Wigan, Warriors and Athletic on like match days, like the signs and stuff. They do like designs, and they give me free tickets to the grand final, so I'm going to give them a quick plug now. Thanks, guys.
That's absolutely terrible, but yeah, you're right. That is a good reason to plug them. But before we start, as I say, talking about Wigan, I think we should probably, first of all, let's talk about Rob Burrow. Obviously, we're all saddened by what's happening to Rob. It was good to see, obviously, at the time of recording this today, it's Monday the 13th of January, we had the testimonial yesterday for Rob, Leeds Rhinos against Bradford Bulls, which was a sellout and was televised by Sky. One of rugby league's good guys, James.
Absolutely. Like, what more can you say about him? He just, like, never had a bad word to say, class act, like, well, you know, and a character of the game. He kind of, it really did kind of show that, yeah, it's, the size doesn't matter. Like, he was great for Leeds for years and years and years. He was an incredible player. And it's so sad that, like, something like this happened to, but it'll be a bit of a legend of the game, you know? Like, it's terrible.
Yeah, it's and we've all, even though he never played for Wigan, we've all got a favourite Rob Burrow moment. I know he's terrorised us a few times. That might not feature necessarily in a favourites compilation for Rob Burrow, a favourite choice, but I know the 2011 Grand Final sticks out in my mind as sort of the game where, well, Rob Burrow was great in many games, but that was the one try, shall we say, that he scored that really sticks out, especially with it being against our dear friends from St Helens.
Turned the game around. It was pretty deadlocked, and then he broke it.
Yeah.
Pretty awesome. Pretty hell of a performance.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, so I have actually donated to his Virgin Money giving page. I believe the fund's up well over the 250,000 mark at the moment. I'm not sure the exact URL, but if you search Virgin Money giving for Rob Burrow, it's there. If you can donate a lot or obviously a little, please do. I'd encourage you to do so. It's obviously going to help Rob and his family. And as well, obviously on a sort of sad note, before we start with all the laughing and joking and talking about Wigan, and I know he's been a bit of a thorn in Wigan's side for a number of occasions, but Mossy Masoi, again yesterday in a friendly against Wakefield, he suffered a serious spinal injury, and he's been operated on overnight at Leeds General Hospital. And I know, like I say, he's been a thorn in our side a couple of times when he was at Saints, but he's certainly. We hope he has a speedy recovery, and we wouldn't wish anything untoward. He seems like a nice guy, and he's one of our own. So
a real character, and again, we don't know the extent of this yet. So hopefully it's nothing too serious. But when you get rushed to hospital for emergency spinal surgery, that's not great. I think the best memory for him is the New Zealand Samoa game in the World Cup. Did you see that one at Warrington?
Yeah, I remember that
when
one.
He came on and he was great that game. He was ridiculous.
I mean, when I say he's one of our own, obviously he never played for Wigan, similar to Rob Burrow, but they're both one of our own in the sense that they're part of the Rugby League family. And just go back to Rob Burrow again, it was great to see so many people at the game from different clubs. Obviously Leeds and Bradford supported it very well because it featured their two clubs, and Rob Burrow's a legend at Leeds. But yeah, there was Sky showed shots. I didn't actually make the game myself, but Sky showed shots on there of Wigan fans and Hull fans and St Helens fans, etc. I'm sure there was fans from all over, which is what's great about Rugby League. We can sort of put allegiances to one side and say, you know what, he's one of ours because he's a Rugby League person, and that's one of the great things about our sport.
It transcends the sport. It's horrible. It's really there's. What much more can you say? A guy in his 30s with a family, and this has happened, and just the fact that he was not to walk out and play a game of Rugby League, even if it was just 5 minutes at the end, incredible. Again, I also didn't see it at all. Just couldn't get a stream, and I'm too cheap. But good on him.
We haven't really had a discussion about what we were going to do today, but I know we were speaking, weren't we, about how. We said it was good that Rob had that moment where he comes on for the last 5 minutes and his teammates are greeting him on the field and people are cheering, the biggest cheer of the game by a mile, and you could see him getting upset, and it meant so much to him, and that was a lovely thing to see.
It was emotional stuff. Jesus, it hits you. Because, again, it almost doesn't seem real when you see stuff like this. Because I've known other people be afflicted with the same thing and kind of, obviously it happens, but you never see it. It's one of the things you very rarely see happen to a famous person, especially a famous athlete. But again, it's physically still not far away from his prime. He only just recently retired, right? And you don't think of it as happening to people, and then it's suddenly you see that, and it's just it reminds you these guys, they're not immortal. They're not immortal, and even if it's nothing related to his actual career. They've all put their bodies on the line for years, so it really doesn't matter who plays for who at the end of the day. It's all about just, it's about the game, and it's awful. And every single guy that plays Rugby League at any level has my respect because it's punishing.
It definitely, that's why we love it so much as well, because of the brutality of it. But there's a beauty about that brutality for sure. Right, so. On to Wigan then. I know I don't want to sort of start on a negative note, but we've got to look back at 2019 before we can look forward.
Yep.
2019, then can you sort of sum it up in a few words, 3 words? I don't know how many words. Can you sum it up?
Tough one.
It was a bit of a roller coaster, wasn't it?
Absolutely. Terrible start. Got worse.
On to 4 words now.
Oh yeah, I don't do enough.
No, it's all right. Go on.
But obviously there was that kind of that recovery around the mid-season point, and we went off that which as we have discussed, and we'll kind of go for a bit more for the listeners, that run did have an element of smoke and mirrors to it, I think, to a degree. But like,
That's the mid-season run. It was 13 wins from I think 14 games at one stage. The only reverse coming away at Saints in the summer.
Yeah, that's the one. Like, we definitely saw improvements then, but I think the thing was, for all the talk of we were going to have this incredible new play style and this free flow and attacking, we certainly didn't when we remembered how to defend.
Yeah, and I think some of that sort of came on the back of Matty Peake coming back to the club. It was sort of announced and it sort of wasn't announced, and he just sort of came in. I sort of noticed in one of the warm-ups and thought, oh, Matty Peake's back. And then a couple of games later, we're grinding results out, and then in some cases we're beating teams quite well and playing well. But yeah, it was a bit of a strange season. Like I say, I think for me it was a case of, it started off on a real low note. It peaked sort of in the middle in the run to the playoffs, and obviously we had that win against Salford round one of the playoffs, and we're sort of bouncing into Langtree Park thinking, what, we're very much outsiders, but who knows, anything could happen. Could St Helens have an off day? And then it sort of just went south from there in the last two games, where I felt like we looked gassed and we looked devoid of ideas. And obviously, as much as it might pain us all to say and think, Saints were by far the best side last season. They were a class above everybody.
Head and shoulders.
Yeah, head and shoulders. Yeah, I think that was sort of magnified how good they were, considering teams like Wigan and Warrington and Leeds weren't doing well, and Hull and Catalan were inconsistent. Sort of didn't. I felt like we were making up the numbers from early in the season. In respect to top spot, I know obviously anybody can win it when it gets to playoff time. And I mean, credit to Salford for the run they had, because that was some run. It really was. But yeah, as I say, Saints were the best side, and we were sort of the best of the rest, really, in the end.
Well, Salford aside.
Yeah, well, you know what I mean, in terms of league position anyway.
Yeah. We just came undone, and that was kind of a story that season, was us coming undone on a big occasion. We did good in the World Cup Challenge, considering, but I don't think you can read too much into those performances, because you never know how they're coming into this, whoever the opposite side is. I know we want to try and big it up, but you never know how serious the Roosters, the Sharks, when we beat them. You don't know how serious they're taking it. So I don't look too much into those results as far as how we went. And every other big game, we just kind of went face first on the big occasion. We started the season on a real low point, getting beat by St Helens. That was when we had the whole kind of talk of us reverting to some old kind of bad habits and stuff. And then it took what, about 3 or 4 games before we played like we did last season, went from being an insult to a compliment. And that was very noticeable, because again, it turns out it's not as easy as some people apparently thought it would be to coach a league-winning side. Unless one that had lost some pretty key players and hadn't replaced them. Yeah,
that's true. I think we've all got our own sort of opinions on how the season went. Some people felt that, especially after, we did end up losing this particular game I'm going to refer to now, but especially against that, there was a first half against Castleford at Castleford early in the season where we ripped them to shreds with our left edge. And there was also where we beat Catalan convincingly at home. I think it was 42 points to 0, and people were raving about Adrian Lambs-Wigan at that point. And
the best performance I've seen for a Wigan club in how many years?
That's the thing. I think a lot of people. Some people, you read the forums and things. Some people were sort of saying that about.
That wasn't my opinion, by the way. That was a quote from someone on RL fans or something like that. I didn't think that.
Yeah, no, I'm very much of the same thought. People sort of said, "Oh, this is Adrian Lambs-Wigan," and even though we're not getting results, we're seeing signs of improvement. But I was one of those people, and like I said, we're all entitled to our own opinions. So we've all got different views. We're all passionate about Wigan Rugby League Club. My view on it was very much that I didn't see progression. I saw a lot of regression from individuals.
Big time.
You look at how, he's not been consistent, but Romain Navarrete, for example,
Oh man.
Goes from being like a starting prop, playing quite well under the previous coach, and then he's just a calamity.
Totally.
Which
Dropped
is
off it.
horrible of me to say, but he sort of dropped. Yeah, he was sort of inconsistent. I think he had one really strong game last season, which was against Catalans at the DW later on in the season. But I'm just using that as an example. Obviously, Sam Powell, we felt sort of kicked on under Lamb.
One I can think that actually improved.
Yeah. I mean, we were always going to struggle, and Lamb. Let's not be too critical. I think he was always going to struggle losing Sam Tompkins.
Yep.
Losing John Bateman.
Yeah.
And
We saw how important Bateman was when he was at Canberra. Jesus.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, what a player. We're all happy to see how he's sort of progressing over there and being successful, and we're sort of made up for him. Like, even though he's a Bradford lad, he's Wigan.
Yeah.
For the service that he's given us as well, and
he's one of ours now.
Yeah. He's superb. What a player.
Yeah, great player.
We lost him. Ryan Sutton, to a lesser extent, has been someone who's been in the Wigan system for a while and always been pretty consistent for us.
And I think was very underrated, like, for his services to us, especially in that last season. Again, which is where I stand by it. For me, he was our best front rower.
Which you could argue that hurt Lamb's 2019
big time
as well.
I think he was really underrated.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's not. Well, in fact, let's do 3 words. 2019, 3 words. If you're struggling, I'll go first.
Yeah, go on.
I'll say poor. Peaked. Because we peaked in the middle. Poor, peaked, and disappointment. So poor, peaked, and disappointment.
Can I have 4?
Yeah, go on. I'll let you have 4 then. We're on the first episode.
No Tompkins, no party.
That is a good one. I mean, just before we move on, that's something we discussed, isn't it? It's something I think that I brought up to you and you sort of concurred with this. If you look back at the 2010s, if you will, the decade. Yeah, very much so. I mean, we were talking, weren't we? I think it was a week or so now. And I messaged you and sort of flagged up the fact that the 3 years we didn't win a trophy in this decade was the 3 years Sam Tompkins wasn't with us. 2 at New Zealand Warriors and 1 at Catalan Dragons. I mean, fair enough, he didn't play in the 2016 final, but he was sort of people sort of don't give him credit for the contribution that he made that year. I mean, that stunning comeback where Gelling goes over against Warrington after Flower had been sent off, and Gelling does the guns and ping thing. Tompkins was instrumental in that, and that was part of our resurgence, if you will, leading up to that final.
That was the game where it went from, we're not really doing much this year, to, oh my god, we're going to win this. Like, and it really was just that turnaround. Like, after we made that comeback, I genuinely didn't think there was a chance of us losing to Warrington in the final. Because, I mean, how much more of an edge can you have over a team psychologically than we were a man down, massively down on the scoreboard with 15 minutes to go, and then we just absolutely crucified them in the last quarter of that game. Nuts. It was a hell of a turnaround, and yeah, you will find out from this that I am just a rabid Tompkins fanboy, by the way.
Yeah, I think that's sort of a nice segue into, rather than speaking too much about 2020, we'll save that for later, because I know obviously we're 6 days away from the time of recording from our first. We've got London Scholars, but we'll say our first team friendly, if you will, is the Liam Farrell testimonial on Sunday. But before we sort of go into that, as I say, a nice segue into just speaking about a memorable game from 2016 would be to talk about some memorable games of the last decade.
Just memorable from the last decade as a whole. I mean, 2010 Grand Final, incredible. Again, that was a game where just. That season felt like a victory match after a certain point. It just wasn't in doubt, and that grand final was we just blew them away. It was a hell of a performance, and again to see they got the mix right there with we had just enough young guys coming through, with just enough kind of seasoned veterans that have won finals and stuff in there to kind of guide them through it. And again, this is the game where you see Tompkins barking out orders to guys like Deacon and Lulai and Fielding and Coley, like these guys have been there and done it, and he took charge. And even though he wasn't like captain or anything, he was one giving commands. That was a great game. 2011 Challenge Cup final. What a game that was! That was just one of the biggest kind of seesawing up and down games I've seen ever. Kind of lost it towards the end when Tommy went over. There was a massive fight in front of us because there was one lone Leeds fan. It was something. It was that exhausted me.
Yeah, I think there was I was sort of thinking about these, as in terms of our favourite games of the past decade. I think, as you say, right to mention those two finals. People obviously remember the 2013 Grand Final when I was on holiday in Florida getting engaged. Ooh. And I'm sat in Planet Hollywood with my Twitter feed, not really concentrating on what I'm eating, which makes a change for me, people who know me. I'm sat there and I'm sort of refreshing my Twitter like a madman. I'm sort of walking around Disney Springs sort of before that, seeing that we're 16-2 down, and I'm thinking, oh no, Warrington are going to win the league for the first time since Black and White. And they actually, obviously we started turning it round. I remember Goulding got the try. Obviously I've seen the game back many times since. Goulding got the try before half time, and that sort of gave us belief, and then we came out and destroyed them really. They didn't score a point in the second half. That's a one. And obviously Blake Green had his face rearranged by Ben Westwood, which Ben Westwood
lucky.
Lucky
that happened the year before the Ben Flower incident, not the year after, else he would have 100% been banned for like half a season and been straight red carded, because that was shameless.
But I mean, Blake Green, what a fantastic standoff, comes back, wins the Harry Sunderland Award, and we won the grand final, and the rest is history.
Broken eye socket, and then just like is a man of the match performance, scores a try, just doesn't take a step back. As soon as I saw the stretcher, I thought, oh, here we go, that's it, we're done. No, gets up, carries on, and I know it sounds like you're full of it in retrospect, but it was one of those weird games where, despite us getting like absolutely like hammered in that kind of 10-minute spell or so that Warrington had where we scored all those points, I just remember thinking, like, if we can just get that one before half time, we're alright. And then we did, and we didn't look back.
Yeah, that's true. I saw for other potential games, we'll get onto it. Well, I think it's both our favourite game, but we'll get onto our personal favourite game in a minute. People said the last Good Friday derby at Knowsley Road, where I think I'd seen people online slating Palliasina for, not Wigan fans, Saints fans slating Palliasina for being overweight this and overweight that, and he bashed over for a try in front of I think it was the Wigan end at the time, and that was superb. That's a memorable one. There was one where we beat Leeds at Leeds in the playoffs, because I think obviously Leeds had won the 3 previous grand finals, and to do that, obviously we won the final against Saints, but that was sort of, Leeds had dominance on the Super League trophy for a good few years, and we went to their place in a playoff game and turned them over, and that sort of gave the signal to some fans that we're the real deal.
I'll throw in, because you were away for this one as well, the Leeds semi-final in 2013 where it was at the DW. That was a hell of a game. And I think Harrison Hansen had the best game I ever saw him play by a mile, and probably one of the best games I've seen a back rower have. He was insane that game. Just every time the ball went within a millimetre of Danny Maguire's hand, he immediately got 2 off his feet. It was incredible. Hansen just shut the edge attack down all game, took Peacock clean off his feet with an enormous hit, and also made the cover tackle where I can't remember if it was Moon or Ablett got through, but Moon ended up one-on-one with Tompkins. Tompkins kind of holds him up, and everyone in the stadium's just watching those two, kind of oh, here we go, Moon's going to get around this, he's going to drag him back into it, because I think that would have near enough leveled the scores. And then just out of nowhere, Hansen comes half length of pitch, cleans him out from behind and makes him knock on. It was such a shame to lose him after that season, because great player, and that was a hell of a performance.
I mean, I've seen it mentioned as well with the Liam Farrell testimonial, but also the last minute win on Good Friday, which isn't our favourite game for us, but I know the last minute win on Good Friday 2011 where Farrell goes over as I say, in the last minute, and it goes from Deacon to Farrell and he goes over, and all the Saints fans in the North Stand are sick as chips, aren't they?
Superb. Like that's just etched in my mind. Like, I'll never forget that reaction. I've never heard that stadium as loud as for that winner. That was incredible. Like, I mean, great game because it had a real like kind of backwards and forwards battle, and it had some really great moments. That was one where Auckland absolutely like pummeled Wilkin, I think, and just like flattened him, which was great. Always good to see Wilkin like flat on his back, and yeah, what an ending! Like, it was an incredible finish.
That's got to be up there with one of my best memories at the DW. Obviously, beating Cronulla in the 2017 World Cup Challenge was a high point at the DW. But yeah, we could go on and on. If you do want us to mention a particular game, and we'll speak about it in a bit more detail than perhaps you would, or you don't do a podcast, so maybe you want us to talk about it for you. You can tweet us at the 1872 pod, or you can email us at the 1872 podcast at hotmail.com. But yes,
yeah, tell us why we're wrong. Tell us why our favourite game wasn't the one we're saying.
That's the one. But yeah, on our favourite game, obviously it was a red hot summer's day.
Oh boy.
It was the Challenge Cup run of 2011, and it was the quarter final. I remember getting there exceptionally early, as when you go to an away game with me, that usually happens, because I'm just a freak like that. I like getting to the game early. I don't think the turnstiles were open, and if I remember rightly, I think a wasp was bothering me in the queue, which again, if you know me, you know I'm petrified of the things. So yeah, that was sort of buzzing about, and it was a red hot day. Everyone's in shirt sleeves, and I'm of course referring to the 2011 Challenge Cup quarter final at the Halliwell Jones Stadium, where it was 44 points to 24 to Wigan.
Which the scoreline doesn't do justice as a competition, really, because it wasn't like a blowaway. We obviously have that ridiculous kind of opening where we just blitzed them, but then they brought it out to 2, right? And it was a tense game, and it was there were so many good players like on both sides that day. It was so many game breakers. Like Solomona came on and absolutely changed it for them, and like we just could not handle him for some reason. Like, he always seemed to really step it up against us.
I think it's important to mention that was the point where we used to come out under Michael Maguire, and we really set our stall out in games, especially in big games. And this obviously was a very important game because we really wanted to get our hands on the Challenge Cup, having not won it since 2002. So it was 9 years, which is far too long for Wigan. It was one of those times where, like I said, we came out and we just blitzed teams in the first 20 minutes. We really set our stall out, and that showed on the scoreboard, didn't it, as you say?
Absolutely. Like, it was one of those where against most of the teams, that would have been it. That first kind of like that first blitz would have killed off most teams there and then, but they came back like in a big way, and it was it was tense because you just kind of thought, oh, here we go, like this is it now, we're back, and we pretty much always struggled there. It feels like it's a real like bogey ground for us, but no, we just kind of like got our second win and really finished it in a pretty convincing way. But like I said, like you were saying, great day in terms of like the actual day itself, the weather and stuff, but great occasion. Like, with some of those tries on both sides were fantastic. Like Tompkins going not quite the length of the pitch, but that scoot where he takes off and
that was just unbelievable. I remember Sam breaking clear for that one and no one being able to catch him. And when he goes over for that score, I mean, that was something else. The crowd reaction was unbelievable. It's one of the best atmospheres I've ever been at.
Oh yeah.
That certainly in my time supporting Wigan, what an unbelievable try and moment that was. And that was, of course, the time when everyone everyone still does, for opposition fans anyway, hates Sam Tompkins.
Yeah.
But that's because he's so good, and that was the time when we used to affectionately boo him to sort of drown out the boos of everyone else.
Oh,
I remember
yeah.
him coming back and we were booing him, and he was sort of giving us the thumbs down as a joke and stuff, and it was phenomenal.
Yeah, and yeah, he was untouchable then. Like, all the skills he has now, he had then, but also he was absolutely rapid, and you just couldn't get near him on some days, and that was one of them.
And that sort of like leads us on nicely to the try from that game. I did like the Tompkins one, as we've just discussed, but
I was just going to say it wasn't even the best try of that game, which says a lot about how good that game was.
yeah, the Charnley try.
Ooh.
Obviously he's with Wire now, but we're really grateful for the service he's given to us. And this was a moment, the one where he streaks through and goes round Hodgson, and he's got Atkins chasing, and that was the moment. We were 8 points, I think, in front at that stage, but then when Charnley goes over, that's sort of the moment with was it about 10 minutes to go, where the game's sewn up from Wigan's point of view, and what a moment. And if I'm right in saying you almost passed out at that point.
It did indeed. It's like I had to like cling to you and like someone else just to kind of keep myself up at that point, because that was heat, beer, and then just the fact we've been singing for like an hour before that game pretty much, and then God, that was something else. Like, yeah, no, I got a bit much at that point.
I can't sort of keep up with the pace of it now in terms of the singing and stuff. I go pretty hoarse, pretty quick. So if it's a really good atmosphere and we're singing half an hour before kickoff, I'm sort of out of it, and I'm sort of got a croaky voice for the rest of the game. I'm shocking. I need some of the other better vocalists in the Wigan end to sort of help carry my voice over.
And that's as much as Nat would like love to hear me say this. We're getting old, buddy.
Yeah, that's it now. The grand old age of 28.
Oh God, she's right.
I'm 29 this year. It's horrendous. If you was to compile a team from the last decade, this was a topic that Wigan did just shortly before Christmas, I think, and New Year. Give us your 1 to 13. Who is your Wigan team of the decade?
Right. Okay. So I got a few written down, and like some pretty easy, some took some real thinking. So like fullback, again, it's not going to surprise anyone by this point, but Tompkins, it's a no-brainer. Like, what a player he's been.
I saw. Sorry for interrupting you. I saw a couple of people saying about Matty Bowen, but on Twitter. But I agree with you. It's got to be Tompkins.
Matty Boyd had his moments, but no. Like, Tompkins, especially that 2010-2013 stint, was just on another level. And again, when he came back, he slowed down a bit, but the smarts were still there, and he'd probably got a bit better in terms of like directing a game and kind of making the ball work for him a bit more rather than him just running around everyone. He was great. Like, there's just the best player I've seen play for Wigan, even over Barrett, I would say, just because he delivered so much more. And it was something else. Like, we're not going to see many players like that, and that's what we're seeing. We saw a lot of really good players come from the academy the last few years, but he was great, and there's been good ones, but they're not as good as him. Right wing is a tough one, but I've gone for Charnley for consistency. Like, he was, especially again when he first came through, excellent. Like, he was so quick and so strong. He was like an extra front row with those kick returns at times. He really got stuck in. Yeah, give some feedback as I'm going.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm not actually going to put my team together. I'm just going to sort of agree or disagree with you. Had Manfredi been fit, and he'd not had his terrible luck with injuries, and obviously in 2020 we hope he can put all that sort of injury nightmare behind him.
Yeah.
He would have been my choice, but on the right wing. But I have to say, because of that, and because of Charnley's phenomenal try scoring rate, and service, and although he had a couple of injury hit seasons, I think Charnley obviously sort of featured in a lot more games than Manfredi has. Then I would go with Charnley as well.
Yeah, and Manfredi absolutely pushed him, and like talent-wise, there's the argument that he's a better player, but yeah, like Charnley was electric again in that first stint for the first few years, and then he had that lull, but then the season before he went, again, it was great.
I'll be interested to see who you go with it as centres, because I know from what I was thinking, and I know people on Twitter thought this, that we've got 2 left centres, but you've got to put one on the right.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I tried to pick like a right centre initially, and it was coming down to Gellin, who was always very inconsistent, but he had his incredible moments, and like, again, very memorable. Gleeson had a hell of a 2010. Like, he was great, and it's kind of forgotten about now because he went so quickly in 2011 in such an unceremonious way. But like, it's difficult to leave out Gildart because, again, he's been so good. He's one of the best centres we've produced in a long time.
I actually think he's one of the best centres in Super League during his time. Because let's face it, Super League, there's not many top quality centres, but I feel like Gildart is one of them. There's obviously a few other candidates at other clubs.
Yeah.
But Gildart's got to be in the top 3 surely.
Or
Definitely top 5.
Oh, easy. Like, easy top 3. He's an all-rounder. He's got a bit of everything. He's got, he can set up tries. He's also got pace, and he's pretty good defensively most of the time. Like, he has his moments like everyone does, but he's better than most of the other contenders defensively. It's tough to call that one, but I would say, even from the games he's played on the right, Gildart's probably got to be him. Yeah,
it's one of those that, because you've gone with Gildart on the right, I think I know who you've gone with on the left, but
easy.
I sort of deliberated that. I mean, a lot of people didn't like Dan Sargentson. I'm not saying he should have been in our team of the decade, but I do think he got a lot of unfair criticism.
Oh God.
Gildart was my choice for that. Yep. So go on, left centre.
Come on.
Yeah, it's not. I know Gildart plays on the left, but we've just done Gildart. I don't think it's up for discussion, is it? No. Just Carmont, that's it.
Yep. That's why Gildart goes on the right, because Carmont was so good.
A man who worked in a chicken factory up until his mid-20s, and
Chicken George.
sort of he joined the game late. I'm right in saying, for Newcastle. I'm pretty sure he got picked up late. Similar to I think Matt King got picked up late because he was working as a bin man, and then he sort of got scouted by Melbourne Storm, and then he had a career over there, and then he obviously played for Warrington, and then was it Souths he finished with?
Yep. Souths.
Yeah. So again,
Yeah, did he only make his debut at was it his debut at 27? Carmont? I think it was
I'm not sure. It was 20 something. I think 25, but we'll call it 26 just because you said 27 and I said 25.
Yeah,
but I think it was 25. We'll not split hers over a year, Georgia.
No, well, and just as a Carmont memory, the 2011 World Cup Challenge, that second try especially, when he just takes the ball from Tompkins from the kickoff, or is it? No, it's a dropout, right? And he just weaves his way through and goes like half length per pitch. That was just incredible. And yeah,
what a game that was, which we didn't mention. I know we didn't win.
Great game. And yeah, like, I don't think I've seen many centres actually that were just better at kind of drawing the man and putting the winger away. Like, he was just great at that. He'd find a way to straighten up. He'd hit that angle, straighten back up, create the space like so well. He just made it look so easy, and also defensively really underrated. Like, he didn't miss many.
No, what a player. You'd see him sort of like hunched over, and he'd have some sort of half injury, and then the physio would come on, and you'd sort of think, oh no, he's going off, and he was a dangerous player for us. And then he'd wave the physio off, and he'd carry on limping about, and he was superb.
Yeah, it was great. Like, hell of a player. Absolutely brilliant. There are no prizes for guessing who goes on the left wing.
Yeah, I mean, some people, obviously, the majority of people went with this pick, who I think you're going to say, but some people did put Burgess's name forward.
Yep.
Because he 2014-15 he was superb, and to be honest, prior to his injury in 2018, he was looking like some of his old form at the start of that season, but obviously injury sort of robbed him of the rest of that.
Incredibly talented player, but I mean, Richards, like, what more can you say about Pat Richards? Like,
a legend.
Yeah, just complete winger.
Yeah, complete winger. Deceptively quick with his long strides. Sort of didn't look like he was running that fast, but I saw. This is someone you could sort of follow on Facebook and Twitter. It's Wigan RL History. If you search them on Facebook and Twitter, they'll come up. I'm not quite sure who's running it, but kudos to whoever it is. I'm not sure if it's Bilko or not. If it's Bilko, well, we love you, Bilko. Keep doing what you're doing on the commentaries and things. I believe you're going to be commentating for Wigan TV.
They've sorted. Yeah. I was going to say they sorted it out, didn't they?
We love you, Bill Cole. Keep doing that. But as well, the Wigan RL pages where you post some classic clips. I saw this was getting on to about Pat Richards, the game where we played Hull KR away in 2009, and Pat Richards is at full back and he skirts across, and we're winning by 30 points to 28 with about 3 minutes to go, and just to seal it, Richards sort of skirts across at the back, gives it to Roberts on the outside, and Roberts was rapid.
Yeah.
Goes down the sideline and draws his man, and Richards is there backing up in support. So Amos Roberts looked like he was running a lot faster than Pat Richards, but hey ho, Pat Richards was there to take that pass, and he goes over and does a bit of a dummy to Michael Vella and goes in under the sticks, and it just sort of confirms the win. And
yeah, it's like you say, that's the other thing about him. Like he definitely got quick, but I remember one time I think we were playing Catalans, and I'm walking like by the pitch side, like getting to my seat. And I was like pretty much I was walking like right next to the pitch, and he went speeding past on a break, and I think scored. And that's when you like realise like how quick he was. Being like right next to him was like, oh my god, like that's ridiculous.
And obviously they named the room. I know we've moved from Oral now and we're at Robin Park Arena, but they named the video room after Pat Richards, didn't they? Which
nice
what a player! What a player!
Gesture. Great.
I would have gone with Pat Richards obviously as well. I think it's hard to argue. I love Joe Burgess, don't get me wrong, and I hope he returns in 2020 to his old form because he's super quick.
Yeah.
But he's sort of a different winger to Pat Richards. Burgess is a flyer and Richards was an all-rounder, as you said.
It is not a knock to lose out to Pat Richards. Like, it's, some guys are just that great. Halves are difficult. And
yeah, there was a lot of debate for the halves.
Yeah.
There was a lot of debate for this, different people, especially at 6.
Yeah, and it was between 2 for me, and like I put down Blake Green, but it was a tough one because Williams has been playing more and like has been great, and I love Williams. I think he's a really great player. But I think from the time he was here, like, I'm going with Blake Green, but it's a knife edge. Like, I'm very, very torn on that one.
I think this is our first disagreement because
Yep.
I am going for George Williams. If you do want to tweet in and tell me I'm wrong about this one, you can. Remember
this
it. Yeah, you can settle the debate. You can tell us what you think at the 1872 pod on Twitter. But yeah, I'm going for all you George Williams haters out there. I'm going for George Williams. I think you look at his length of service, you look at the fact that he's progressed from being a Wigan Academy product and he wasn't sort of a ready-made signing, although I do believe Blake Green improved his game whilst at Wigan after catching our eye at Hull Kingston Rovers.
Yep.
Yeah, not the best organiser, George Williams.
No.
But when we were struggling in games, especially in the 3 years where Tompkins wasn't there pulling the strings out the back, George Williams was the man to pull something out the bag.
Oh yeah.
And that's sort of shown with his stats for assists, consistently in the top 5, the top assister at Wigan during all those years. He gets slated for not being consistent enough, but he consistently delivered tries and he consistently delivered on assists. And for a half, that's all you can ask. And no doubt there was improvement. He could have had improvements in his game. No one's perfect, but I love George Williams, so George Williams for me.
You're kind of swinging at me on that one. That's a good point. Like, I think Blake Green stood out because of his kind of performances in big games, but you're right there. Like, Williams is just, his assists have been like, through the roof. And yeah, I will support you out in that, like, the Williams slaters can like suck it because like he's been one of the few that's actually done anything for us the last couple of years creatively, especially last season. I saw him get slammed so much last season, and he was a one-man band because Powell wasn't doing much, Tommy wasn't doing much, Howard wasn't doing much. Williams was it. He was all our attack, and people were saying, oh, he's doing nothing. If he'd have gone down with an injury, we would have been absolutely screwed.
I think wrongly, some people's perception of George Williams changed once he signed the marquee contract. I think people started getting on his back when he didn't deliver in games. There's no doubt there was games where he didn't perform as well as we would have liked him to. But you could say that about any player.
Yeah, who does?
We could say that about ourselves in our working lives.
Yeah.
You some days, unfortunately, even if you're trying or whatever, you sort of don't deliver as good as perhaps you can.
Yeah.
Because, I don't know, you've got other things on your mind or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Granted, we're not professional sports people and don't have a lot more handsome sons of money than us.
Yeah.
But I do think there's, as much as we like him to be the same every single game, and that's the test of an absolute consummate professional player. There's naturally going to be games, especially when the team aren't performing well, where it's going to impact on players like George.
That's what I was going to say. Like, he also needs every other player to be having a good game as well, like, to a degree. Oh, not everyone, but he needs
especially
other
in the pack.
Yeah,
he needs that platform, doesn't he?
Yeah, and he needs like the backs.
As any halfback does.
He needs the backs to be running the lines. Like, he needs people to be helping him out, and he had no help. That was a thing that I kept going back to last season. Was he was the only one trying. Like, at times. So, okay. Not the only one trying, because that's a bit harsh, but creatively, he was the only one with any idea of what to do.
Yeah, I think so too. So, are you sticking with Green? Or are you going with Williams and have a change on that one?
Yeah, it's swung me. I'm going to go with Williams.
All right, okay, so we've got Williams. Scrum half, I think I go on, I'll let you speak.
You know what? I think I might have a very different one to what you're expecting, but see, because it's a lot of the talks are in Tommy, and it's a case of where'd you put Tommy, and if we're going for like performances and at his peak, the best 7 I think we had at his peak, I think I'm going to surprise you and go with Finch.
Right.
And then he didn't always perform, as we could go into, like, especially towards the end of his Wigan stint.
He loved the short ball to Hock.
Oh, Jesus.
And then to Hock.
Oh,
he loved that
God.
short ball.
Oh,
It's undone a few teams, though, that.
Oh, yeah. I just, the end of that 2012 season, I've never seen Tompkins as stabbed as possession in my life, because he just was not. It wasn't going to him, and it was really frustrating. But talent-wise, I'm going with here, kind of, not longevity, not even necessarily like being man of match in big games, but I do think he was like one of the best halves I've seen play for us this decade.
Yeah, I'm going with, I think, the most popular choice when I saw on Twitter, and I'm going to say Tommy Lulawai.
Right. That's.
But for the longevity reasons and that, I'm saying Tommy Lulawai.
Spoilers, he features later. But yeah, that's why I've gone with. That's another reason why I went with Finch.
Yeah.
Is what I've kind of put together what I think would be like a stronger team altogether. Finch, it's a tough call because you could put Tommy in the halves easily. And, people don't talk about Deacon, but Deacon was a big part of it early, those first 2 seasons.
Yeah, he was instrumental, wasn't he? It was organising, and his kicking game was superb.
It was a huge signing. He was the level head we needed, that experienced guy that could lead a team around and has won grand finals.
Just because I've been controversial before by bigging up George Williams so much, I'm going to be doubly controversial here, to the point where I might be have rotten vegetables thrown at me in the stocks at the top of Wigan outside the moon underwater, maybe.
Okay.
I'm going to say Tommy Lulawai, as we said, is my choice, but I have to give an honourable mention to Matty Smith.
Oh yeah.
And if you look, he wasn't a world beater.
Nope.
But far from it, actually.
Yeah.
But I feel like George Williams, going back to George, sort of played his best rugby league when Matty Smith was his halfback partner, sort of getting us around the field with his kicking.
Yeah.
His goal kicking wasn't great, but his actual kicking around the field was better than Lulawai's, Finch's, and Williams's.
He brought it in a lot of big games. Like, I think 2013 he was instrumental in that. In all those big games at the end of that run, he was like he nailed it every single one. Like, the big games, he really turned up from all.
I think we're playing wet weather football, like in the 2013 Challenge Cup final, where it was a bit of a dull 16-0 win. But how can you say a final win's dull? But you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It wasn't the best game, especially not for the neutral. But Matty Smith sort of kicking game sort of got us around the field for that game, and I just wanted to mention him because, again, I think he gets a lot of unfair criticism.
Yeah.
We know he's never been the same since he left Wigan, and he's had his best years at Wigan.
Yeah.
And it's sort of been downhill from there. But I actually quite like Matty Smith. I'm one of the seemingly few people who actually like Matty Smith. So I wanted to mention him.
Yeah, I would put it as I like Matty Smith. I think he did a really important job. Not the most gifted in terms of like his ability to open a team up, but again, a good organizer. Inconsistent, as we said, everyone can be. I think what would keep him out for me is if we're thinking about those teams and who he played alongside. I can't think. To me, like he played really well alongside Green and Williams, where I also think if you put Finch along those guys, like you're only going to see an improvement, which is why I would pick Finch over Matty Smith.
Just as we move on to the forwards, let's try and speed it up, and we'll do quick fire forwards.
Okay.
And we'll both make a quick point, or you can make a quick point, a punchy point about each one and why they're selected in the position you've selected them in for Team of the Decade.
Yep. Okay, first prop, Corley.
Yep, I'd go with that.
Yeah, Fielding push, but Fielding really only had about one good season this decade. So, I saw people mention him and he was really good in 2010, but Corley, better for a bit longer, and, really delivered. Really stepped up when he came to Wigan.
Yeah, the only thing, maybe recent seasons, maybe not, but I think I was going to go with Corley and Flower. Just, again, it could be a longevity thing.
One that I didn't see mentioned in the threads, and I'm really surprised at was I've got Corley as one prop. The other prop I've got is Lima, and I barely saw anyone mention Lima. And
I saw a few mentions for Lima.
First season was insane. Like his yardage was ridiculous, and he made a bunch of tackles. Great prop, really underrated.
So Corley and Field and props, and
no, Corley and Lima props.
Sorry, Corley and Lima props. All right, okay.
I got Tommy at hooker.
Right, okay.
McIlroy obviously pushed really close.
I was going for McIlroy because I had Tommy at 7.
Yeah.
Again, controversial, but Sam Powell, we've won 2 grand finals with him as the 9.
Yep.
So McIlroy's my choice, but honourable mention for Sam Powell.
Yeah, a workhorse, and he does a job, and I think he needs other people to kind of be doing the stuff that he doesn't do.
With Sam Powell, there are better hookers than him in Super League, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, people are sort of looking at McIlroy now saying, "Oh, we wish he was back," and we all love Mickey Mack for his heart, his desire, the way he whacked people.
Yep.
We love that about him, and we do miss him. But just going on to that. James Roby, I know he's coming towards the back end of his career now, but he's still superb. Darryl Clark, superb.
Yep. Great players.
Someone who we were talking about Leeds yesterday and their spine, and we were sort of saying, making a point about who their key players are. Someone I forgot to mention in that discussion yesterday, and we're going to mention now, is Cruz Lehman, who they've signed from Huddersfield. He's a 9. What I would have been interested in. He's I think if he's not now, he's going to be one of the top hookers in Super League.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I've no arguments there. I think, which I'm speeding this up, but so I think Powell is like. Yeah.
Well, we've slowed down again, guys.
I think Powell is one of those guys where like he does a job and you can carry him as long as you've got guys in a position. So like, when we had Tompkins and Williams, it worked great because you can kind of have that guy that does a job. And like he's not going to open up many teams. He has his moments. He's not gonna like carve a team open like Roby or Clark, but he's going to get through a lot of tackles and he's got to have his moments and he's going to get his delivery is solid. And then you've got 2 other guys that can really do a job and really open teams up. So that's fine. You can kind of carry that. Where it did start to come undone a bit until he did start to pick his game up last season was again you didn't have that Tompkins. You had Williams trying to do stuff, and then people sort of around watching.
Okay, back rows.
I mean, Bateman is obvious, and I did go with Farrell, and that part about his longevity, because he's just been with us like the entire decade, and he's been so consistent, and he's a great player. But there are honourable mentions there to Hock 2013 because he was that good, and
2012 that.
2012, yep, yeah, you're right.
Someone who hasn't got a mention, just going back to the props, and I'll keep interrupting, but Paul Prescott.
Really good player. Shame his career was cut down as early as it was because he was looking like he was really stepping up. Good hands, surprisingly good hands. Probably one of the best like kickoff like kind of returns I've seen, which is a really like weird thing to pick out. But he, from the kickoff specifically, he belted it in.
I'm gonna just on Paul Prescott. I'm just gonna go off on a tangent slightly here and say that although we discussed beforehand that we weren't gonna do sort of any inside jokes, I feel like this is something that Wigan fans can appreciate. One of my good friends, Mark, our good friend Mark,
Yeah.
he, if I can't mention Paul Prescott without mentioning him going to Independence in Wigan and ordering 10 for 10. Because Mark will kill me if I don't mention that, and I feel like I've missed something from this first episode without mentioning that. So yeah, Paul Prescott did love a 10 for 10 in Independence in Wigan. I'm just going to say it.
Oh, and I saw Lee Mossop in there as well.
Lee Mossop was loving 10 for 10 as well.
God, I didn't realise how big he was until he stood next to him. Jesus.
Big lad.
And I will give a bit of a shout out for props for Mossop in that early stint. I thought he was really, really good before he left the Para.
Shame again, someone who's been sort of dogged by injury, but had a good season for Salford last year.
Yeah,
which I think we were sort of not against us. We didn't want it,
no.
But we were sort of happy for him in a way.
Really happy for him, because I remember seeing an interview about how like his confidence took that serious knock, and how he was like, I think he said he was like crying before games and stuff. He was really like hurt, and you know it'd taken such a knock from just being injured so much. Great to see him turning around. Like, really like him. Think he's a really good player. It's a shame it didn't end up working out in his second stint with us, but hell of a player. Like, he, you know, people would say like lacked aggression, but he was a big guy that just went one direction and made a lot of tackles, and that's invaluable in rugby, you know.
So Bateman and Farrell, back rows.
Yep, and also shout out to Joel Tompkins in his first stint, because he was incredibly talented again.
Who, don't forget, played quite a bit of centre under Michael Maguire.
Yeah, and scored one of the best tries in a Challenge Cup final ever.
A bit like yourself, James. You played prop, second row, loose, and you had a spell on the wing in one game.
5 minutes. I didn't even get a touch of the ball because it was the under-13s. Wingers didn't get the ball then. Yeah, Joe Tompkins doesn't get to shout out because he was awesome, and I think for a while he was one of our stronger like ball runners and had some good skills around him. And before he went to Union, really agile. The AD skilled him massively there. But, you know, yeah, I think you got to go Bateman and Farrell. Bateman's just incredibly talented, and Farrell was really consistent and also very good. And there's been no other 13. There is no debate here. It's Sean Loughlin. Like, it's, you know,
unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, just
one of my favourite Sean Loughlin moments was was Good Friday 2014, where he throws that outrageously good pass to Dan Sargentson.
Oh my god.
He's sort of in centre of the field, in the Saints half, and he's running. He still had a decent amount of pace then for a big guy. And the ball that goes out to Sargentson's exquisite. It sort of, from Brian Kearney, he sort of gave the Gary Neville,
I was just gonna
Chelsea reaction.
He has the Gary Neville moment.
Yeah.
That's one of the best passes I've ever seen. Like, I think it was you point out, like Sargent doesn't even break his stride. Just right in the red basket, just right on his wing. Doesn't have to change his slow down speed, you know. Keeps the same pace, doesn't have to move, like switch the angle of his run or anything, just right to him, just perfect.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's it then. I think we've done the team of the decade.
Yep.
And what a team it was. I know there was obviously lots of people we missed out. We'd give mentions to who haven't featured. Obviously James has put together the team. If you don't want to tweet at the 1872 podcast, you can always tweet at TaxingChimp and give him some abuse personally over that, or you can compliment him if you like. I'm talking about abuse a lot. Let's talk about compliments. You can get in touch with him at TaxingChimp and compliment his selection, or give him some feedback or whatever it is you'd like to do.
Yeah. I will mute liberally.
So yeah, 2020 then.
Yeah.
I was saying to you beforehand that obviously I've been discussing at work today with the guys. A friendly that didn't feature Wigan. We spoke about it earlier about Rob Burrow, and it was also obviously for Jamie Jones Buchanan that game, and we were all three of us today at work were buzzing about Rugby League.
Yeah.
It was back on the screens. It didn't feature at Wigan or St Helens, and and it was a friendly, and we were all buzzing about it at work. And I'm one of these, me. After the season, I sort of feel like I've played all season. I'm mentally, not physically, obviously, but I'm mentally burnt out, and
Yeah.
I need a rest. We've had Christmas and that, and I'm ready for it now.
Yeah. I probably was a bit more distant than a lot of the times last season, just because of work made it quite difficult. But I'm really excited for the new season, and I do have to say, like, the effect of making like big signings is real. Like, because I'm a bit more excited because we have actually going to the season with some big names coming in.
And you'd hope we've shifted a few more season tickets as a result.
Oh, we need to. But we also need to like be playing better on the pitch, I think, is the main thing. Like, which hopefully these signings should do. But yeah,
I mean, if you look at the 2016 grand final win and how we lost lots of players and still won the grand final, I think having that great squad depth has really helped us, especially in the Sean Wayne era.
Yeah.
But I do think the correct decision was made for this season, where we've let some squad players leave.
Yep.
And we've brought in. To be honest, there's a few more squad players you could probably do with being moved on, but maybe that'll be at the end of 2020.
Yeah.
And we'll not name those.
Yeah.
But to bring in the likes of George Burgess.
Massive, like literally, and like kind of,
Yeah, it's getting people excited, isn't it?
Yeah.
We've brought in Mitch Clark, who's not a big name, but he's a big lad.
Mm-hmm.
And he's sort of always played well for Cass against us.
Yep.
So we're hoping that he rips in for us with that.
That's one of those that's been overshadowed that you almost forget about. But yeah, it's a really good sign.
And Jake Bibby as well. Jake Bibby, another what you're saying about being overshadowed. Not many people are mentioning Jake Bibby. Obviously, he's a Wigan lad. I'll be honest, I hadn't sort of really noticed him playing for Salford.
No.
But then when we made the announcement, we sort of paying a bit more of attention to him, and he does seem someone who's got a good work rate. He's got a good combination with Jackson Hastings. He did have last season on the left-hand side for Salford. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing him.
Yeah, like we'll have to see how much features, because it seems we've got a lot to figure out about backline. I think is the main thing, which is a good headache for a coach to have. But yeah, there's got to be some big calls made there, because another signing, not quite a signing for this year, but Bevan French obviously came in late last year, was kind of just slotted in wherever, but we got to figure out what we're doing with him, and it's probably going to be the halves.
He's been given the 6 shirt, hasn't he?
Yeah.
There's a lot of debate about this. Just before we talk about Bevan French, just on about Jake Bibby, obviously he's going to get more of a shot, and Hankinson, you would suspect. But this could also link in and segue into Bevan French as well, because it might depend where he plays, depending on who the centres are.
Yeah.
But I was sort of thinking that maybe if Hardaker's at full back, then obviously your centres, while Gildart's injured, are going to be Hankinson and Bibby. But again, segueing into Bevan French, if Bevan French plays at full back, then Zach will obviously feature as the right centre. So then that leaves us a fight for the left centre spot between Hankinson and Bibby. So that'll be interesting to see which way Lam goes with that.
Until Gildart gets back, and then we're both kind of screwed and waiting for injuries. But yeah.
Yeah, you can't leave Gildart out, can you, really, when he comes back?
No, it's good. It's good to have people keeping him on his toes. Same with
yeah, absolutely.
Same with French.
I mean, Hankinson's goal kicking seems pretty good. That's always something. That was a feature of last season when Hankinson did get a run in a team. His goal kicking stood out.
Yeah, absolutely, and that did seem to like push Hardaker to improve his goal kicking as well, because
I think it did.
Yeah, and like good solid signings. Hastings obviously is the big one.
Yeah, Man of Steel. Great season for Salford.
What we needed. Like, we've actually gone out there and made a big signing that we needed. Like, we found the best guy pretty much in the league. Or
you'd think he'd be hungry, because obviously he just fell short of the final hurdle with Salford. So hopefully, I'm not saying we will, but I feel like with the improvements we've made in the squad, that we could at least be challenging anyway.
We should. Like, a final
maybe
has
he'll go
to
on
be
better.
Minimum. A final's got to be a minimum now.
Yeah, I think so. I think for me this season there's a big sort of question mark over Adrian Lam. Like, I do think he was dealt a difficult hand last season. We've spoken about players who left.
Yep.
There was also a couple of off-field controversies, and there was also Sean Edwards sort of getting cold feet on the Wigan deal and deciding that he was going to stay in rugby union, and then sort of when all that news was sort of out the way and dealt with as best as it could be, I think I spoke about Matty Peat leading to the upsurge in it, but I think some of the off-field drama being cleared up and got out of the way sort of helped Lamb's Wigan last season.
Yeah.
And, this feels more like Adrian Lamb's squad.
Yeah.
Because he's been here over 12 months now and he's got the full pre-season to work with his coaching staff. And I've watched a few of the interviews on Wigan TV and they sort of seem to be saying, the players, that it's been a tougher pre-season this season.
Good.
And last season I think maybe, I don't know because I'm not in the club, but I sort of pictured it as, it's a bit like a relay race. Sean Wayne, after running, I don't know, 800 metres or something like that, I don't know, passes the baton on to Adrian Lamb, who's only going to run 100 metres because he's only doing a year, and then Sean Edwards is going to pick up the baton and run a longer distance. But as it is, Lamb's still holding the baton now, and like I said, although I would have loved Sean Edwards to be at Wigan, I do think obviously we've got the benefit of knowing that Lamb's our coach for the next 12 months, at least another 12 months, and he can sort of build on last season.
Yeah. And to be fair, I think it was going to a point where Edwards was what we needed anyway. Like, when we were really struggling mid-season, it was like, so we're going to then get a guy who's not coached league at a top level ever. Suddenly he'll come in and, like, turn the team around. Like, that, that wasn't sounding too great anyway. Obviously we had the better kind of, like, second half of the season, but it wasn't looking great. So when it was more like a mercy kill when, like, Edwards didn't end up coming, because it just wasn't looking great, and you could tell, like, as soon as he started talking about how nothing had been signed, that was alarm bells. You could tell he just wasn't really committed, and really bad on his part. Not a good look to turn up wearing a shirt, like a Wigan shirt, talking about how much you can't wait to coach Wigan, etc., and then just to totally backflip like that. Not cool.
No, it wasn't good. But we move on. And we move on as positively as we can.
Yeah.
Obviously, we've got Adrian Lamb now, and like I say, I feel like the fan base is a bit split on him. But I think it won't be split. And what will, obviously, if he has a good year, and what will definitely help is if we start the season like an express train.
Yep.
We don't want to start the season like an express train and falter later. Because that's just as bad as starting poorly, finishing strongly, but you're in such a bad position you can't do anything anyway.
Yep.
But it would help, if we can start our first 3 or 4 games. I think we've got in our first 4 competitive games, we've got Warrington, Cass, Toronto, and Hull in no particular order. Obviously, Warrington are first.
Yeah.
If we, it does sound a rough start. I think Warrington's at home and Toronto's at home. I'm not sure about the Hull fixture. I think that might be at home as well, and Cass is the away one. That does sound tough, but at the same time, if you think that 3 of those fixtures are at home, if that is the case, I need to double check that.
Yeah.
The 3 winnable games. If we've got ambitions this season, we need to be at least taking out those 3 home games, possibly all 4.
Yeah.
And start the season rolling. If we were to do that.
Yeah.
Obviously that would stand us in good stead for the rest of the year.
Yeah, like, there's no reason we can't look at those as, like, all winnable games. Again, I can't think of a club that's signed better than us this season, and considering where we finished, playoff spot, lost in the semi-final, but we had a good run, we've strengthened. We should definitely look at winning those games. Like I said, a final's got to be a bare minimum this season, because we look so much stronger now. We've got, we lacked flair. We've got Bevan French now. We lacked organisation. We've got Jack Hastings now. We lacked power up front. We've got George Burge and Mitch Clark. We're looking like a lot stronger in a lot of ways. And so now we need to do something. And this, like you said, this is a make or break for Lamb. It's like, there's your guys. You've got the team. Show us what you can do. Like, a pre-season of just, like, throwing a ball around, saying you're going to, like, coach some rugby and someone's not going to cut it. Like, we've got to, he's got to, like, really get the guys in shape, as we saw, and then defending like we know how to, because when we didn't, we looked awful. And when we were able to defend, that's when we started winning games. So, got to get back to that, and then the rugby will just take care of itself after that.
I think the good thing, or the thing that I like about Adrian Lamb, is the fact that he's obviously passionate about his rugby league, which you'd expect from a professional coach, but he does seem to love Wigan, and he seems like a really nice guy, and I do want him to succeed.
Yeah.
I hope this is the season. Obviously, it'll have to be, I think, with the investment we've made, that he does that. Otherwise, I think at the end of the season, he'll be gone.
Yeah.
But, hopefully, in 6 months' time, he's getting a new contract because we're absolutely flying.
Yeah.
Or if not in 6 months, maybe at the end of the season.
If this team isn't flying, then there's problems.
Yeah, I think so too. I know there's a big question mark over Jackson Hastings in terms of will he be with us. Obviously not in 2020, but in 2021.
Nah.
You don't think he will be?
Nope.
I mean, hopefully, he sort of fell in love with Salford and the club. Hopefully, he can fall in love with Wigan. Obviously, if performances help this, but if the atmospheres can be what we know they can be, I think that'll help, especially with him being an Aussie. I know he's been at Salford and he sampled some good atmospheres there. They're singing his name and he loved the community and stuff.
Yeah.
But obviously, Wigan's up, and no disrespect to Salford because they did kick us out of the playoffs last season.
Yep.
But you know what I mean in terms of stature of the club and the fan base and the expectation and the Wigan Saints derby and all that. It's a step up, and I think that's fair to say without being too biased. I think if he can fall in love with Wigan, I know Sunshine Barbecues and the money and the ambition of going to the NRL or back to the NRL and doing well will be there for him. But like I say, if he can fall in love with the club and we can help that as fans, then it might, keep him here for that second season, especially if he's going well and we want him to stay for that second season, because obviously he hasn't pulled on the cherry and white yet, and we want him to do well in the cherry and white. And just going back to what you said earlier about, we just said earlier about the centres and Bevan French, where's he going to play? Is he going to play at full-back? Is he going to play at standoff? This is what the friendlies got coming up, the Liam Farrell testimonial game and the league game a week before the season starts are good for, because we can sort of test out the combinations.
I'd love to see Bevan French at full-back. I think that'd be his best position by a mile.
He's got a lot of Amos Roberts about him.
Oh, he's so quick. He's one of the best players ball in hand I've seen for Wigan.
I've seen people compare him to Amos Roberts. I've seen clips of John Ferguson, but I wasn't alive when John Ferguson played for Wigan, but I've seen clips of him and people compare him to John Ferguson, so some of the older fans do anyway. So he's sort of a mashup between two players who, obviously, Amos's time was cut short at Wigan due to injury, but
really sad because he looked like something that 2010 season.
Yeah, I think he would have been. Well, he'd been a candidate for Man of Steel that year.
Easy.
Two players who were in John Ferguson and Amos Roberts who were looked on very fondly, and Bevan French is being compared to them. So hopefully, he can continue his sort of his form from last season and kick on even more.
He was the most dangerous person in the squad by a mile. When he got, when we got him playing and got the ball to him, he looked dangerous. Or he looked more dangerous on the wing than in the halves. But maybe again pre-season chance to work on some combos. Maybe it'll work because he's he seems to have the skills. But
and I've heard at training they've been obviously doing Hastings with French.
Yeah.
And they've also had Hastings with Tommy and French at full back, and Zach's been at full back, and French has been on the wing and he's been at full back, and Headache has been at centre. And
I think you get more out of him at full back, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think him running the ball back against a bit of a spread defence, it's going to be frightening because you just can't coach against pace, can you? And it's something that us Wigan fans would be excited to see. But then again, Zach is safe at full back. He's safe pair of hands on the bomb.
Yeah.
He's had those moments where he's made sort of miraculous one-on-ones. Which
but seems to lose against pacier backs for me.
Yeah, that's something that can be a bit of a worry for us with Zach there. I know he sort of got voted player of the season for Wigan last season. Again, my choice would have been George Williams, but Zach had a great year in a lot of ways. But like you say, he does look like he's lost a yard of pace, and when the pacier players get through, he was left. Which is a bit of a shame, really.
Yeah.
Which with Bevan French, I reckon he could be the quickest in Super League.
Oh, got to be up there. He would have had to have made some better efforts against some of the backs. If he doesn't make these eye-catching one-on-ones against props, then whatever. You don't really expect that. That's a nice extra. But I want a fullback that can catch a winger. Those are the kind of things I'm expecting. Slow down a prop by all means. You don't have to make that big one-on-one. Catch your wingers, put pressure on them for God's sake. Don't let don't just let like people just skirt past you like what's happening at times. But we'll see. Again, I'm not doing the preseason. We don't know who's impressing more. But I feel like he'd offer us a lot more ball in hand as well. And again, I think with him, you are looking at kind of getting something close to like an early days like Sam Tompkins, where you've got a guy with real pace, and if you can do a bit with ball in hand, coming onto a wall as like second, third man in those block plays is just going to be impossible to defend against.
Just before we wrap it up,
Mm-hmm.
We touched on it earlier.
Mm-hmm.
What would you be happy with this season as a Wigan fan? It's Adrian Lamb's second year. We've made these investments in the squad. What is a good season for Wigan Warriors in 2020?
I'm torn between a final and a trophy, and I think we've got to win a trophy.
Yeah. So, league position, we've got to be in the top 4.
Yeah.
We'll say.
Yep.
We're in agreement on that.
Oh, if we don't make the playoffs, it's a disaster.
Top 4.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, preferably first.
Yeah.
Just before I give sort of my answer on that, I would be giving, if I'm Adrian Lamb, I'm giving Saints the Alex Ferguson treatment, comparing Saints to Liverpool on this one when Fergie came in, and he said, didn't he, about knocking them off the perch.
Yep.
They set the bar last season,
Big
and
time.
they'll be looking to maintain and raise it further under Christian Wolff. And for our nearest and dearest, for me, I would be looking at them and saying, look, they are the standard. We weren't there then last season. We weren't at that standard. We need to be better, and we need to get closer to them. If not, completely knocking them off their perch, to quote Alex Ferguson.
Yes.
I'd be looking at knocking them off their perch, and us to be the team, because that's where Wigan should be, at the top. Knock Saints off the perch. They've probably correctly not really strengthened their squad. They've stuck with it.
Yeah.
And I know this isn't a St Helens podcast, I don't want to talk about them too much, but at the same time I'm just making a point about us. I do think that we should be looking at them and aiming to knock them off and overtake.
Well, they really showed in the games where we played on like the difference in the pack mainly. Like, good lord, like that playoff game where they hammered us. Like, I'm pretty sure Thompson made more yards than like at least our starting 2 front rows and probably most of our forwards on his own. Like, they murdered us that game. Then Walmsley obviously made a ton of yards. That's where we're going to need like a lad like George Burgess to really like turn that around. And we'll have Bullock back as well, which is a bit forgotten about. Like,
we've not mentioned Bullock, have we?
Yeah, we've totally forgotten about because he got injured, but he was looking good. It was a bit too much put on him, and now he's got a bit less pressure because again, Clark Burgess takes that pressure off him.
Someone else we've not mentioned is Joe Greenwood. Big body. Didn't have a good season last season. Was dogged by injury.
Had his moments, but looked a bit over-reliant on him initially, I thought, and then a lot of injuries.
When he came in underway, and he looked superb.
Really, really talented player. We need to get more out of him because he's big and he runs great lines. He's got good hands. Like, you're not great if you can't get much out of a guy like that, I think.
So for me, minimum requirement will be top 4 in the final. A good season would be 1 trophy.
Yeah.
And a great season would be 2 or more trophies. Yeah.
Yeah. Agreed.
So I think we can agree on that, right? I think that's everything. I think we're going to wrap up the show. Thank you for listening to us at the pilot episode of the 1872 podcast. As I say, I've plugged it a few times, but you can follow us on Twitter. It's at the 1872 pod. You can send us an email. It's the 1872podcast@hotmail.com. And of course, you can listen to us on YouTube. You can subscribe to our channel, the 1872 podcast. If you go into the search bar, filter channels, and type in the 1872 podcast, we should come up there. We are also going to be going on to SoundCloud or something similar, which I will confirm on our Twitter page. So if you can give us a follow at the 1872 pod, you can find out about that, to make it perhaps more convenient for you to listen. And for all your latest 1872 pod news, you can follow us there, find out when we're next going to be recording or when our next episode's going to be. And we hope you've enjoyed listening. It's a bit of a toe in the water situation for us. We hope you enjoyed it. I think we enjoyed it.
Yep.
And until next time.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Ciao for now.